Imagine you live in a colony on Proxima Centauri b, a planet 4.2 light years from Earth. Your alarm buzzes and the artificial sunrise flickers on. You just woke up for your next 8-hour shift at the iron mine. With a long day ahead, you know you're going to need a morning pick-me-up, so you head down to the local cafe. The barista slides over your cup of coffee across the counter and you pull out your card to pay. And then, you wait. By the time the receipt prints, the coffee has long since evaporated. You've missed your child starting high school, you've missed them graduating college, and you've aged almost 9 years. So, what happened? You accidentally pulled out your card issued by a bank back on Earth. Rookie mistake. Modern banking is practically instant. The funds are withdrawn from your account and given to the merchant faster than you can blink. But that choice to use your Earth's bank meant that the transaction had to make the 8.5 light-year round-trip journey there and back. The payment machine could assume that you do have the money and it will receive the funds in the future. This is called eventual consistency and is used today in computing where you can afford to wait to have everything synchronize. But in finance, you run into an issue, double spending your money. Say you have $10. You buy a coffee and a sandwich for $10. But since the transaction takes 8.5 years to verify, you can walk in the next day to the cafe and spend the same $10 over and over again. Each time, a new transaction will be sent to your bank. When your bank finally gets the transactions, the first will succeed because you had $10, but the rest will fail since there's now no money in the account. And the cafe owner will be none the wiser, at least for several years. It's like having your own money printer. Needless to say, this breaks an economy. On Earth, we solve this by centralizing trust to some sort of central network. Whether it's an interbanking system such as SWIFT or a cryptocurrency network such as Bitcoin, all digital finance relies on a shared real-time ledger that everyone agrees on. Scale that system across planets or stars and it falls apart. Cryptocurrencies would be especially painful. If the latency is greater than the time it takes to mine the next block, you stand no chance. If we are to become an interplanetary or interstellar species, the laws of physics force us to rethink how money works. As early as 3000 BC, humanity began exploring forms of tender to facilitate early trade. From salt to sheep to stone discs, if people agreed it was valuable, it became money. Coins emerged around the 7th century BC, being able to represent larger amounts without needing to carry literal tons of goods. Throughout history, coins were made of precious metals such as gold and silver, but inflation and debasement over time corroded their value. Several times throughout history, coins were worth more melted down than the value stamped on their face. In a future with space travel, coming across asteroids with more gold content in them than all of Earth's wouldn't be too uncommon. Banks and governments which back their money with physical assets such as precious metals could collapse at a moment's notice. All it would take is a single mining expedition to obliterate the value of gold overnight. Any economy tied to a physical scarce resource is only scarce until somebody finds more of it. And in a universe this vast, there will always be more. In the 20th century, governments experimented with a new form of currency, one which is not backed by anything except trust in the institutions that issue them. Dubbed fiat money, its value is only determined by what people agree it's worth. Today, all major currencies on Earth are fiat. If we assume that the banknotes of the future are just as hard to counterfeit as today, physical banknotes could work for everyday transactions. But larger sums, risk of robberies, convenience, and businesses dealing with many transactions make utilizing cash a lot less tantalizing. Who says you need to use Earth money? Instead of a unified financial system, each local system gets its own economy. Earth uses Earth dollars, Titan uses Titan dollars, and Proxima Centauri b uses Prox b dollars. Banks would operate independently and locally. No lightspeed bottleneck, no waiting years for settlement, no risk of fraud over the course of many years. Transfers between these systems would be facilitated by exchanging the foreign currency for local ones, not unlike how multiple currencies work here on Earth. You can take dollars issued in the United States and exchange them for euros when you arrive in France. In most science fiction, there is usually some sort of galactic credit used seemingly everywhere, but with separate spheres, money ceases being universal. Exchange rates are usually dictated in real time by market forces. The rates would need to be predicted in advance since you're not seeing the exchange rate as of today, but instead as of 4.2 years ago. Take, for example, if you were to buy some machine from Earth. Let's say the buyer only accepts Earth dollars, so you'll need to convert. In between the time it took to transit, the prox dollar crashed. If you paid in advance, you got a steal. You paid 100 prox dollars, but it's worth 2,000 when it arrives. But if you pay on arrival, you will now have to fork out 2,000 for a product you initially wanted for 100. The value of the product never changed. It was sold at 100 Earth dollars and is still worth 100 Earth dollars, but the price you ended up paying differed because you didn't use the same currency. This might sound crazy, but you could just take your bank with you. Instead of calling home to any bank, you carry a digital file representing your wealth. Imagine a physical card equipped with a trusted execution environment, a tamper-resistant cryptographically secure microchip. The system would use public-private key encryption. Banks would issue dollars signed with their private key, which you can load onto your card. When making a payment, that dollar can be verified locally by the payment terminal using the bank's public key. No signal is sent to any bank. This is done only on the merchant's machine. The chip then marks the dollar as spent and transfers ownership to the merchant. Zero latency, no double spending, and the trust moves from a centralized network into hardware and math. This is already used in some science fiction settings like Star Wars. Credit chips are cards that hold a certain amount of money on them that can be spent across the galaxy. And this isn't purely science fiction. In the 1990s, cryptographer David Chaum created eCash, a system that allowed digital money to be spent privately and even verified offline. Unfortunately, banks just weren't interested in integrating it at the time, and it fell into disuse. But in the future, you could receive your money on cards and spend them electronically without carrying large stacks of cash or even having a bank account. But just like cash, if you lose your card, you lose your money. Since the card itself doesn't connect to any bank, there's no way to cancel or put a hold on the card. Whatever the solution is, the next time you tap your phone to pay for a cup of coffee, take a moment to appreciate the speed and simplicity. You are enjoying a luxury that the rest of the galaxy likely won't be afforded.